Welcome everybody to another episode of the Startup Show. Today we are back here in Zurich visiting Marc from a startup called Piomic. So, welcome.
Thank you.
So welcome everybody to another episode of the Startup Show. Today I'm very happy to meet with Marc from Piomic. So Marc, maybe just give us some background about yourself. Who are you?
Sure. So my name is Marc. I'm 26 years old and I'm a scientist. I grew up in Bern and moved to Zurich for my studies. I finished my bachelor's in biochemistry and then focused on human biology for my master's. And the whole life I was very interested in the interdisciplinary field of biology and physics. So I was really interested where are the big problems in healthcare and how can we solve them with alternative ways than we have right now.
Mm-hmm. Scientist doesn't really come up to me right away if you ask what is the standard profile of an entrepreneur. So tell us what made you feel, at what stage did you decide I want to become my own boss, or I want to become the founder of a startup?
So it was more, we saw that there is a big problem which we will face later on, and we have the solution.
Yeah.
And together with friends we decided we have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it not on the market? Why is it not being used for the indication we're being treating? And this is where we decided to make our own startup and to establish this medical device.
Right. Wow. Suspicious is high. So tell me a little bit about your startup because I really want to hear.
Okay. So we developed a medical device which is not a drug, it's not a medicine, but it's a device which you can apply for wound treatment. So we basically achieve that we can accelerate wound healing, and we focus on chronic wounds. So these are wounds which don't heal over months or even years. They cause a lot of pain to the patients, makes them immobile, can lead to amputation of extremities if there are complications. And we found a way to increase the energy content of living cells. They regain their potential to efficiently close wounds.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit, I like to give some real life example, especially when it's science, then it's very hard to visualize this, maybe what exactly it is. So a patient with a chronic disease, how does he use your device?
So for the chronic wounds we focus on right now, they're mostly on the lower legs.
Yeah.
And the device it's non-invasive, so you just apply it at the side of the wound.
Mm-hmm.
And one therapy session takes about 16 minutes and will be repeated for 2 to 3 times per week.
Mm-hmm.
At the healthcare institution.
Mm-hmm. So tell me what are let's say these big issues that you were facing. Is right now there is nothing similar on the market that you can use, or is it more this is something that you iterated to make it better?
So there's a lot of preclinical data. There's also a lot of data which is available from basic research, and we were familiar with that. So we were of course looking into companies who was taking an approach into wound care to use this kind of technology. So this is one of our USP, that we basically combine 2 types of technologies to create the synergistic effect which is exactly needed in the wound area for efficient wound healing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Switzerland is definitely known to be one of the places where you go to when you have in the medical and pharma industry. How do you experience that kind of environment here? Is that something that is actually true?
Yes, it's a very good environment actually, because it's a very high standard of education and very high standard of research as well. It's also highly regulated, which makes it a little bit challenging for developing a startup. So only if you want to do a clinical trial, you have lots of regulatory challenges which you have to come over. But in the end, this increases the quality for the healthcare institution, and you can really make sure that the patients can benefit from these treatments.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very cool. Tell me a little bit about the Zurich startup ecosystem. Is it really as flourishing as everyone is saying? I hear a lot from the Kickstart Accelerator, which are definitely pioneering in that type of bringing a lot of global startups to Switzerland. Is the Digital Zurich 2015 something that is reachable in that time, like the way we have it now?
Yeah, of course. So one big thing that we learned during the last 8 months was it's not a one-man show, but the most beneficial thing is that you can connect to other people and profit from their expertise. And we have here good mentors and good experts where they really challenge your case. So you really have to think about how to proceed. So we were in the Impact Hub before for 8 months, and also there was a huge network that we could use in terms of investors, in terms of specialists, doctors, and without that we would not be here today.
Absolutely. A lot of startups, especially European people that feel their idea can get stolen and stuff like that, they prefer not to speak to people. As far as I understood, like, you're not one of them. You are kind of like feeling like you can share your idea. How do you justify that to someone who says, like, okay, like, I only share my idea with NDA and stuff like that? Are you scared that someone is going to copy you?
Actually, there's always the possibility that somebody copies anything or something, but we really believe that we have a huge problem. These chronic wounds, it's a huge problem. There's also the demographic shift, which increased the prevalence for these chronic conditions, and we need to solve that problem.
Yeah.
And if somebody comes up with a better idea or with a better technology, and he can solve the problem well, then everybody benefits from it.
Yeah.
So if we can challenge others to do a better job than us, that's good too, and we do our level best.
Yeah, right. I think that's the science approach, where you say, like, we want to together, we want to serve the humanity. That's very nice. The last question I would like to ask is about entrepreneurship. Is there any kind of advice that you would give a future entrepreneur, someone who is now in the stage of deciding, okay, should I become an entrepreneur or go for the big company? What would you tell them to take into consideration?
It's great. You can really focus on what you're good at. It's very interdisciplinary. You can learn so many things from others, also from your team members. You have to be very flexible. If something changes in the environment, you have to adapt, or you have to decide whether to adapt or not. That's a big thing. So you have to there are many decisions that you have to take, and there are many factors that you need to take into consideration to take such a decision. But I'm not sure if there's anything more interesting in
a big corporation.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So thank you very much for this insight. I think it was one of our first science companies, which is very cool. I like to have a diversity of startups on my show. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching this episode of the Startup Show. Thank you very much for being here, and I'll see you soon with another episode. Have a good day, everyone.